I want also to help welcome us and get us started at this forum this afternoon to welcome to the podium somebody who has also been deeply involved in the planning and the execution of this event, our friend Ozman Kavala. Ozman Kavala I met last spring when I first came to Istanbul. He had very encouraging words, very good ideas, and he was willing also, as we say back home, to put his support and money where his mouth was, and indeed where our mouths were last night as we had that lovely buffet. It was Ozman Kavala who made that possible for us. He's also the head of the Anatolian Center here. He's a writer. He has a wonderful series of children's books about civic interdependence and related themes. So I'm very glad that he's with us today. Ozman, would you come forward?
Well, thank you for the excellent introduction. I'm flattered, and I don't think I deserve the compliments. Dear guests, well, first of all, it is a belated welcome, but welcome to Istanbul. We are very happy to be with you, and I'm personally very much honored to take part in the Interdependence Day event, which, of course, were the brainchild of Benjamin Barber, whose hard work and dedication have made the whole initiative possible. Within the process roughly defined as globalization, there are a number of different dynamics at work, and we have seen that international relations, economic relations, not mean economic prosperity for every society. We have seen that in a number of countries, especially on the African continent and in Asia, poverty has persisted, with low-income families being denied access to the fundamental public services necessary for a minimal quality of life, healthcare first and foremost amongst them. In addition to that, corruption in public administration has obstructed the creation of institutions necessary for democracy. In today's world, 1/4 of the working population earns a daily wage of less than $1.25. Half of the world's working population makes less than $2 per day. In the high-income countries with a population of 800 million, the GDP per capita at purchasing power parity is $33,000. In the low-income countries, the situation is quite different. This amount is only $2,000. While in developed countries the life expectancy at birth is 80, in some low-income countries the number is nearly half of that. In those countries which we define as developing, there are also serious disparities within the countries themselves. Giving an example from my own country, the individual income difference between Hakkari in the southeast and Istanbul is almost 1 to 5. The other day, director of Marmara University, which in fact is located in Istanbul, explained that they have begun giving breakfast to students, university students, as 6 of them had fainted in class from lack of proper nourishment. In primary and secondary education, the impacts of poverty on children's education and development are even greater. According to the statistics, Turkey ranks lowest among the OECD countries when it comes to child poverty. But of course, we know that there are even worse conditions in other countries of the world. Regional disasters and climate change have an even greater impact upon vulnerable areas and populations. This is due just as much to the effect of administrative decisions, unguided urbanization, the destruction of farmland and forests, as it is to excessive consumption and zeal for wealth. With the flood disaster in Istanbul, the failure to prohibit use of floodbeds opened the way for human casualties and bitter pain and loss. As if these problems were not enough, in the last decade, we have witnessed the emergence of the concept of war between religions. We have seen that there has been an increase in a number of conflicts where the parties define themselves according to their own particular faith, or increase in the conflicts which are explained more in terms of religion. These usually involve Muslim societies, and as such are associated with Islamic fundamentalism. Well, such incidents can hardly be considered a new phenomenon. Islamic conquest and Christian crusades have marked histories for centuries. The roots of the Muslim-Hindu conflict in India can be traced back to the era of colonization. The United States supported the resistance which rose up against the leftist coup in Afghanistan under a campaign of jihad. Actually, in history, we find many examples of religious elements playing a key role in struggles that are termed national. This has happened in the national struggle in Algeria as well as in Turkey. However, the prominent role of religion in debates over the world order can be considered new. Of course, when it is said that factions publicly assert and express themselves in religious terms, we are not just talking about protests and rallies that Muslims have staged. In the Bush era, the same would go for evangelists, and the same for Israeli politics. Before the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the differences between economic systems took center stage, and debates over market economies and centralized planning systems predominated. As for the 60s and the 70s, dependence and independence were the core political debate, and the problematic of development and democracy were largely linked to the issues of dependence and independence. But following the gaining of independence by numerous Asian and African countries and the collapse of the USSR, the world did not move on in a very positive direction. The United States of today, the world's only superpower, is different from how it used to be. On the one hand, unchecked free market relations have paved the way for the emergence of large risks in the financial and insurance sectors, while on the other hand, the power of corporate lobbies has increased to such a degree that not only they have been able to obstruct the domestic reforms, such as the healthcare, but they have impacted the course of military interventions as well. If you want to prevent religious differences from leading to factional elements in the world, then it is just as important to establish national and international concepts of ethics as it is to launch dialogue between religions. The involvement of religious leaders is essential, certainly, for this process. As President Obama has highlighted, the appraisal of messages from religious texts that give importance to peace can be very influential. But the ethical conceptualization, I think, has to be based on a secular discourse and on secular principles. In today's world, most of the problems confronting us are of global nature, and they demand forms of a solidarity which should be termed as global. It may be that the replacement of the concept of ethic citizenship with the concept of civic citizenship built upon a shared moral foundation is more important than ever. The politicians, I think, need to be careful and keep a distance from religious terminologies. This care is also important for social cohesion, as in our world today there are religious minorities in every country, and religious symbols which address and attempt to mobilize the majority have the effect of marginalizing minorities and leading them to feel alienated. Aspects of religion, symbols of religion, of course will be present in the public domain, but it is crucial for both national citizenship and global citizenship that symbols and mutual points which are free of religious and ethnic connotations be found, cultivated, and promoted. I strongly believe that the Interdependence Day has the potential to be a unifying symbol. As far as I know, interdependence theory is a methodology which is successfully implemented in educational settings. This perspective teaches people to comprehend how every event has effects on other people and other events, how it is all interrelated. We must cultivate this perspective on a global scale. Of course, this presupposes two things. First, that we must be open to learning from one another, and second, that learning is actually a collective endeavor, just like it is here. Thank you.